What happens if you spray milk on peach tree leaves for gummosis? It sounds like old folklore or perhaps a kitchen accident, but this white liquid triggers a biological warfare response right on the surface of your bark. You might save your orchard from a slow, oozing death, or you might accidentally invite a swarm of pests that finishes the job. Stay with me, because the difference between a cure and a catastrophe lies entirely in how you handle this common refrigerator staple. Before we uncork the jug and head out to the orchard, I want to ask you to join our growing community of practical growers. If you believe in preserving traditional knowledge that actually works in the dirt, not just in textbooks, please hit that subscribe button. We are building a library of plain wisdom for the next generation, and your support ensures these methods do not fade away like an old photograph. Now, let us look at what is actually inside that carton of milk, because it is far more than just a beverage when applied to plant tissue. Milk is a complex colloidal suspension containing water, fats, proteins, sugars, minerals, and enzymes. The most critical component for treating gummosis is the protein fraction, specifically casein and whey proteins. When these proteins land on a leaf or bark surface and are exposed to sunlight, they undergo a process called photodegradation. This breakdown produces amino acids and small peptides that act as mild antiseptics. More importantly, as the milk dries, it forms a semi-permeable film. This physical barrier is not merely cosmetic. It creates an environment where fungal spores struggle to germinate because they cannot penetrate the protein matrix to reach the host tissue. Beyond proteins, milk contains lactic acid bacteria and other beneficial microbes, especially if you are using raw or slightly soured milk rather than ultra-pasteurized commercial varieties. These bacteria are antagonistic to many plant pathogens. They compete for space and nutrients on the phyllosphere, which is the total above-ground surface area of the plant. By establishing a colony of benign bacteria, you essentially occupy the parking spots that harmful fungi like Botrytis fiaria or Cytospora would otherwise use to infect your peach tree. The lactic acid itself also lowers the surface pH slightly, creating an acidic microclimate that many wood-rotting fungi find inhospitable. We must also consider the mineral content. Milk is rich in calcium, potassium, and phosphorus. Calcium is particularly significant here. In plant physiology, calcium acts as a structural glue, binding cell walls together through pectate cross-linking. Stronger cell walls mean the tree is physically more resistant to pathogen entry. Potassium regulates stomatal opening and closing and is vital for overall stress tolerance. While foliar absorption of these minerals is limited compared to root uptake, the localized presence of calcium on a wounded branch can aid in callus formation, helping the tree seal off the gummosis lesion. The fat content in whole milk serves as a spreader sticker, helping the aqueous solution adhere to the waxy cuticle of peach leaves and the rough texture of bark, ensuring the active compounds stay in place long enough to work. Finally, milk contains trace amounts of vitamins like B-complex and vitamin D, which, while not primary fungicides, support general microbial health on the leaf surface, fostering a balanced ecosystem rather than a sterile vacuum that pathogens could quickly recolonize. To understand why milk might help, we must understand what the peach tree is desperately trying to do when it develops gummosis. Gummosis is not a disease itself. It is a symptom of distress, often caused by fungal infection, bacterial canker, mechanical injury, or environmental stress. The peach tree, Prunus persica, has specific nutritional demands to maintain its defenses. Nitrogen is essential for vegetative growth and enzyme production, including the chitinases and glucanases that trees produce internally to fight fungi. However, excessive nitrogen makes tissues soft and succulent, inviting infection. Milk provides only trace nitrogen, which is actually ideal for a treatment. It supports defense without promoting vulnerable new growth. Calcium is arguably the most critical nutrient for a peach tree battling gummosis. As mentioned in the composition section, calcium strengthens cell walls. But beyond structure, calcium acts as a secondary messenger in plant immune signaling. When a pathogen attacks, calcium ions flood the cytoplasm, triggering defense gene expression. A peach tree deficient in calcium will have weak bark that cracks easily, providing entry points for Cytospora canker, the most common cause of gummosis in stone fruits. The calcium in milk applied topically supplements the tree's internal reserves at the exact site of vulnerability. Potassium is the regulator. Peach trees require high levels of potassium for fruit development, but also for osmotic regulation and wound healing. K-deficient trees show marginal leaf burn and poor callus formation over pruning wounds or cankers. Without adequate potassium, the amber gum keeps flowing because the tree cannot seal the breach. Phosphorus is needed for energy transfer via ATP. Healing a canker is metabolically expensive. The tree needs energy to compartmentalize the infection and grow new protective periderm. Milk supplies P and K in modest, safe amounts that won't burn foliage but will provide a localized boost exactly where the metabolic demand is highest. Micronutrients matter too. Zinc and boron deficiencies are notorious in peach orchards and directly correlate with increased susceptibility to gummosis. Zinc is required for auxin synthesis and membrane integrity. Boron is involved in lignification and phenol metabolism, both crucial for wound sealing. While milk is not a complete micronutrient fertilizer, it does contain traces of these elements in bioavailable forms. More importantly, the organic acids in milk can chelate minerals already present on the leaf or bark surface, making them more available for absorption. The connection is clear. Milk is not a fertilizer replacement, but it is a targeted supplement that addresses the specific biochemical deficits that allow gummosis to take hold. It bridges the gap between what the soil provides and what the wounded tissue urgently requires. Let us be honest about what milk can and cannot do, because false hope kills trees faster than neglect. The benefits of properly applied milk are real and documented. Research from agricultural universities has shown that milk sprays can reduce powdery mildew severity by up to 70% on cucurbits and grapes, and similar principles apply to stone fruit fungal issues. For gummosis specifically, milk serves as a preventative barrier and a mild curative for early-stage surface infections. It is non-toxic, safe for pollinators once dry, inexpensive, and leaves no chemical residue. It supports the tree's natural microbiome rather than sterilizing it. For the home grower or small-scale orchardist, it represents a sustainable, low-input tool that aligns with ecological farming principles. But here is the warning, and I need you to listen closely. Milk is a double-edged blade. If you apply it incorrectly, you will make your gummosis problem significantly worse. The sugar content in milk, lactose, is a feast for unwanted microbes. If you spray full-strength milk or apply it during humid, stagnant conditions, you are essentially laying out a buffet for sooty mold, saprophytic bacteria, and even ants. Sooty mold grows on the sugar residues, blocking photosynthesis and weakening the tree further. Ants farm aphids and scale insects, which create fresh wounds that invite more gummosis. Over-application can also lead to anaerobic conditions on the bark surface, promoting rot rather than preventing it. Furthermore, milk is not a systemic fungicide. It will not cure a deep-seated Cytospora canker that has already girdled a major scaffold limb. If the gummosis is accompanied by significant dieback, sunken lesions, or foul odor, milk alone will fail. You may need to prune out infected wood or use stronger interventions. Using milk as a substitute for necessary surgery gives the pathogen time to advance unchecked. Also, never use flavored milk, chocolate milk, or milk with added sugars or stabilizers. These additives introduce compounds that plants cannot process and that guarantee pest outbreaks. Only plain, unflavored dairy milk should ever touch your peach tree. The margin between remedy and ruin is narrow. Respect it. Here is exactly how to prepare and apply milk spray for peach tree gummosis safely and effectively. Follow these steps precisely. Select your milk. Whole raw milk is ideal due to higher fat and native microbe content, but standard whole pasteurized milk from the grocery store works well. Never use skim milk, as it lacks the protective fat film. Never use expired, chunky, or rancid milk, as putrefactive bacteria can harm plant tissue. Prepare the dilution. Mix 1 part milk to 9 parts clean water. This 10% solution is the proven effective concentration. Higher concentrations increase risk without increasing benefit. For a typical backpack sprayer, that is roughly 1 cup of milk per gallon of water. Stir gently but thoroughly to ensure even distribution. Add a surfactant if needed. If your peach leaves are very waxy or the bark is extremely rough, add half a teaspoon of mild liquid Castile soap per gallon. This helps the solution spread and stick. Do not use detergent or dish soap with degreasers or antibacterial agents, as these strip the protective cuticle and kill beneficial microbes. Choose your equipment. Use a clean pump sprayer or hose end sprayer dedicated to organic treatments. Never use a sprayer previously used for herbicides or synthetic fungicides without triple rinsing. Residue can react with milk proteins and cause phytotoxicity. Apply to the point of runoff. Spray the affected branches, trunk, and surrounding foliage until the solution just begins to drip. Pay special attention to crotches, pruning scars, and visible gum sites. The goal is complete coverage, not saturation. Avoid pooling at the base of the tree. Clean equipment immediately after use. Milk residues sour quickly and clog nozzles. Rinse the sprayer tank, wand, and nozzle with warm water and a splash of vinegar, then rinse again with clean water. Store dry. Monitor closely for 3 days post-application. Watch for signs of sooty mold, ant activity, or leaf yellowing. If any appear, wash the tree with plain water and discontinue milk applications. Adjust dilution or timing before retrying. Timing is everything with milk sprays. There are windows of opportunity and windows of disaster. Never apply milk when temperatures exceed 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 degrees Celsius. Heat causes rapid evaporation, concentrating salts and proteins on the leaf surface, leading to burn. Never apply during rain or when rain is forecast within 24 hours. The solution will wash off before forming its protective film, wasting your effort and potentially spreading pathogens via splash. Avoid application during peak bloom when bees are most active. While dried milk is safe, wet spray can temporarily deter pollinators or coat their bodies. Do not spray on drought-stressed trees. Their stomata are closed, and stressed tissues are more sensitive to any foliar application. The ideal time to apply milk for gummosis is in the early morning, after dew has dried but before the heat of day, on a calm, overcast day with moderate humidity, 40 to 60%. Late afternoon is acceptable if nighttime humidity stays below 70%. Early spring, just as buds swell but before full leaf out, is prime preventive timing. This coats emerging tissues before pathogens establish. Post-harvest application in early fall helps protect pruning wounds made during summer maintenance. During active gummosis flare-ups in growing season, apply every 10 to 14 days. This interval matches the typical germination cycle of many stone fruit pathogens and allows the milk film to degrade naturally before reapplication. Do not apply more frequently than every 7 days. Cumulative residues invite problems. Cease applications 2 weeks before expected harvest to avoid any potential flavor transfer or residue on fruit. In dormant winter, milk is ineffective. Save it for active growth periods when the tree's biology can respond. Consistency matters more than frequency. Missing an application resets your protective window. Now, what should you realistically expect and when? Manage your expectations. Milk is not a miracle cure that reverses years of neglect overnight. Within 24 to 48 hours of proper application, you should see the milk film dry into a faint matte white coating on bark and leaves. This is normal and desirable. Within 7 to 10 days, if the treatment is working, new gum exudation from existing lesions should noticeably slow or stop. The amber ooze will darken, thicken, and eventually crust over rather than flowing fresh. Existing gum deposits may begin to crack and flake as the underlying tissue starts to callus. By 21 to 28 days, you should observe new, healthy bark forming at the margins of old cankers. Leaves adjacent to treated areas should remain green and turgid, showing no signs of chlorosis or necrosis. If you are dealing with secondary powdery mildew alongside gummosis, white fungal growth should recede significantly within 2 weeks. However, if after 3 applications spaced 14 days apart, you see no improvement or worse, increased oozing, leaf drop, or pest activity, stop immediately. The issue is likely beyond milk's scope. True healing takes a full growing season. Milk buys the tree time and reduces pathogen pressure so its own defenses can catch up. Patience and observation are as important as the spray itself. Celebrate small victories, less gum, healthier leaves, stronger calluses. These are signs the balance is shifting. Friends, gardening is not about perfection, it is about partnership with living systems. Milk spray is one humble tool in a larger toolkit of attentive care. It embodies the principle that wisdom often resides in simplicity, and that solutions need not be expensive or complex to be effective. But remember, no single remedy replaces good cultural practices. Proper pruning, balanced nutrition, adequate water, and vigilant observation. Use milk wisely, respect its limits, and always let the tree's response guide your next step. If this practical, science-backed approach to traditional methods resonates with you, I urge you to subscribe and share this video with fellow growers who value honest, tested knowledge over hype. Together, we keep alive the art of growing well, not just growing more. Your orchard deserves that care, and so does the next generation who will inherit these trees and this wisdom. Thank you for watching, thank you for growing, and may your peaches be sweet and your branches strong.